Welcome to the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast
with our mom,
Misty Bailey. Tips and encouragement
for
real life homeschooling
is headed your way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast. I am Misty Bailey, blogger at Joy in the Journey and podcaster here at Joyfully Homeschooling. So today we're going to be talking about working and homeschooling. Can you do it? Yes, you can. I am living proof. It is hard, but worth it. But before we get into that topic at hand, I want to share with you what is saving my homeschool right now. So the first thing is weekly Bible studies. So we are going through the book of Gideon from Priscilla Schreier with our church, and it is so nice to get out of the house every week and study with other women. If you have the opportunity to do something like that, I highly, highly recommend it. The second is a monthly mom's night out with our homeschool group. So we just started this and we've only had one so far. We had one last semester, but we've only had one this semester so far, but we're going to start doing them monthly. And it was such a blessing. Our first meeting together was such a blessing. And I really wish we would have started these monthly meetings sooner. It is so nice to just get with others and connect about homeschooling and the Lord and to get to know each other better, because we need community, mamas. Not just in online space, but real people that are around us on a regular basis. And we need connection now more than ever. I think that we have allowed, in a lot of situations, we have allowed on the online space to replace real life relationships. And I just don't believe that that's how God meant for it to be. I'm not saying online relationships aren't important, but I'm just saying that that connection of real people is also very, very important. So I also want to mention that if you live around Ohio, my local homeschool group will be hosting a homeschool moms retreat titled Enough. It is a 2-day retreat in April on the 24th and the 25th. So many homeschool moms worry if they are doing enough in their homeschool. They worry if they are smart enough to homeschool their kids, particularly in regards to high school. They worry if they are overall, if they are just enough, if they're doing enough. And our hope and our prayer is that you will leave this retreat knowing without a doubt that you are His and you are enough to homeschool your kids. Friday night, we're going to focus on homeschooling high school students. We have pre-recorded speakers, including Jean Burke discussing college admissions and Ann Caraco discussing high school transcripts. We will also have a Q&A session with veteran homeschool moms from our area. And Friday night, we will have light refreshments provided. Saturday will be more general focus for schooling any age children. And our local speakers, including myself, will address fears, doing enough, dealing with distractions. That topic is going to come from my friend Devon Parks, who you've heard on the podcast, and how to keep our focus on the most important things. There's also going to be a Q&A session with local homeschool moms, including me and Devon. And Saturday, your lunch will be provided. It's going to be catered in, so it includes your lunch. So the cost for the retreat is $20 for either single day or $30 if you want both days. And if you register before March 1st, you will get a $5 discount. So that means for both days, your price will be $25. Or if you just want to come for one day, the price will be $15. If you are interested, I will leave a link in the show notes, or you can send me an email, misty@joyinthejourney.net. And before we dive in, I have one more thing I want to say. I have 2 resources on working at home and homeschooling. One is an eBook, and I think it's around $8, and it walks you through the different jobs you can do while working at home, how to get a job, how to manage your time, resources that can help, and a lot more. And the other is a session that I gave on this topic in Atlanta at the Southeast Homeschool Expo. So you can find both of those resources in my store, joyinthejourneystore.net. So let's dive on in. I plan on going through my own work at home story and some tips that you guys, if you are working and homeschooling, some tips that can help you along the way. So I have worked from home personally since May of 2006. For those who don't know, I was a preschool teacher before staying home with my kids. And when I got pregnant with Kristen, my hubby and I decided that it wouldn't be worth the childcare for 2 kids for me to go back to work. So I started my own in-home daycare. My sister was pregnant as well, and she's a single mom at the time in nursing school. So I wanted to help her out. I got my daycare license and ran the in-home daycare business from May of 2006 until December 31st, 2012. And at that point, I had begun doing some online work, including the blog, some VA business for the Southeast Homeschool Expo. And I was making enough to make up enough of my childcare income that it was okay for me to quit. And since then, my work has expanded a lot. I podcast now. I just took on a new role with the Southeast Homeschool Expo that includes booking the speakers and exhibitors. I run customer service emails and social media for a few homeschool companies, and I love, love, love working from home. I also just decided to go back to school for a business degree. And through the years, I've had so many people tell me they cannot homeschool because they can't afford to quit working. But the reality is that so many moms work and homeschool. Some things that my friends do, they work outside the home as an office manager. I have a friend who's homeschooling that's a nurse, a friend who's homeschooling that's a professor at our local college. I have friends who clean houses or office buildings while homeschooling their kids. I have a friend who is a realtor while homeschooling her daughter. Working from home, I have friends that do VIP Kid. I have quite a few friends that do VIP Kid. Usborne book consultants, bloggers, podcasters, VAs, virtual assistants, graphic designers, writers, editors, and so many more. And all of these moms work and homeschool. And I'm surprised, really, honestly, by the number of moms who do work and homeschool. And the number has really gone up over the last few years. If I had to guess, I'd say the bulk of the new homeschool moms that we have coming into our homeschool group do work in some capacity. And if I had to take a wild guess, in our larger homeschool group, in our area, we have about 118 moms. And in our smaller group, the group that's hosting the Homeschool Moms Retreat, we have 30. And I'd say that out of those 30, probably 25% of those work while homeschooling. And it may be more. I'm not really good at math. I'm trying to figure out what 25% of 30 would be. But a good part of those work while homeschooling. And so I know that there are a lot of you out there. So I wanted to provide you with a few tips about working and homeschooling that I have learned through the years. So that's what this episode is going to be about. So my number one tip is to start each and every day with God. This should be the first thing that you do. Begin your day with God before everyone wakes up. Clear your mind, leave all worries to Him, and He will carry you throughout the day. So one thing that I have been doing to help with this is I need to lose weight. I'm not just saying that. I really do need to lose weight. And my husband got a really good deal on a treadmill, and my daughter runs. And so I've been getting up in the mornings, and before I start working, I go into our room with the treadmill and I listen to a devotional while I am working on the treadmill. So that is an easy way I can multitask and get both of those done at once. You can get Bible apps on your phone. You can just get a devotional. Just open your Bible and read it. I have a Homeschool Moms devotional Bible. I'll leave a link to that in the show notes. That's a really good way to do that. But start your day off with prayer and God. The next is to set work hours. So when I first began my in-home daycare business, I did not have work hours. And this meant that I oftentimes had kids at my house from 6 a.m. until bedtime. Needless to say, I burnt out quickly. And when I began freelancing, I found myself making the same mistakes again. And again, I burn out very quickly. The key to both of these jobs was setting work hours. Once I actually placed limits, then that helped me know when I should be working. And it also helped my clients know when I was accepting work, when I was replying to emails, and when I was going to have kids at my house. And it really helped everybody. It helped our home, our family, my job situations, knowing when people could get a hold of me and when I was available to work. So now I block off this time in my Google Calendar. So my Google Calendar is attached to my phone, my husband's phone, and my daughter's phone. So I don't put my hours, like my first thing in the morning hours, like from 5:30 to 8 a.m. I don't do that in the Google Calendar, but I normally have like a set block 2 days a week where I still work or I record podcast interviews. And so those are blocked off in my calendar. So my daughter knows not to plan anything during that time. My husband knows I'm going to be unavailable during that time. And it really just helps our overall family to have those set aside work hours. When you have young kids at home, setting work hours is a huge help. You know, when your kids nap, when they're at school, when they're doing homeschool, what classes they have, when their appointments are, therapies, when they play sports. And if you're working from home, that can really help you set aside your work hours. So look at the big picture. Look at when you are already tied up or doing certain things. And look at your calendar and then go ahead and block off time when you know that you can work. This helped me so much when I first started working from home as a VA and a freelancer, because it went ahead and put that time in my calendar in advance when I was going to be working. So I didn't try to guess when I was going to have time to work. I looked at our overall routine and then plugged in when I had time to work. And I still do that to this day. So I work from home. I work in the mornings, 5:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. And we start school at 8:15. And then I work 1 day a week from 1 to 7. And then I normally have an hour or two that I kind of fill in throughout the day, every day. But I normally have one other block every week where I work. And that block kind of rotates out. But I have those set work hours. If you work outside the home and you're thinking of homeschooling and you're trying to figure out, okay, I work outside the home. Am I going to be able to homeschool my kids while working? Yes, you can. So here's my suggestion for you. So I have a friend who she teaches at the college 2 days a week. And so she knows that those days she is going to be at work. So she arranges childcare for her kids and she fits her homeschool time in outside of those hours. When you homeschool, you do not have to have traditional hours of school. You do not need to be at your home doing school from 9 to 3. So you can school on the weekends. You can school in the evenings. You can set your homeschool schedule around your work schedule if you want to work and homeschool. I have another friend who's an office manager and she set aside a little, she works for her husband. Well, it's Devon. So Devon, my friend Devon, who's been on the podcast. So she had an office at her husband's job, like at his business, and the kids would do school in that office. So she would do office manager tasks in between, and then she would help her kids with their school. So she made that work. I have a friend who's a nurse who works midnights, and so she works overnight while the kids are sleeping, and then during the day she comes home from work and she starts homeschooling her kids. Her husband leaves for work. She homeschools during the day, and then when he gets home from work, she sleeps. So she sleeps in the evenings instead of in the daytime, and then goes back to work. So they make it work that way. If you really want to homeschool and you still need to work, there are ways that you can make it happen. Believe me. Podcast sponsors make the Joyfully Homeschooling podcast possible. So let's take some time to learn more about our current podcast sponsor, Bookshark. Bookshark homeschool curriculum is literature-based, 4-day, and faith-neutral. You can see it at bookshark.com. Amber Reed Davis, a busy homeschool mom, says, "We can't say enough good stuff about Bookshark. We're doing levels 3 and 5 this year. My kids are hooked. Through the amazing books, we've traveled to fascinating places and learned so much, and we're only on week 13. Who knew a middle schooler would ask if we could still do school on our 5th day because he wanted to find out what happens next in the books we're reading? Also, I've been amazed at how much I've learned through reading along with him. Oh, and the 4-day schedule is perfect. We use our 5th day to catch up, or just for fun field trips, experiments, and messy art projects. Amber is right. Bookshark's fully planned 4-day homeschool curriculum flexes to match your busy lifestyle. The detailed instructor's guides lay everything out so clearly that you are prepared to teach in mere minutes each day. Open your guide, gather your resources, which are all included in your package, and go. Curriculum for ages 4 through 16 is available in all subject packages or by individual academic areas: reading with history, language arts, science, and math. With Bookshark's literature-rich programs, your children will read, or have read to them, 35 to 50 engaging books each year. Visit bookshark.com to browse curriculum, download samples, or request a catalog. That is bookshark.com. There, you can browse curriculum, download samples, or request a catalog. Now let's get on with the podcast. Okay, so the next tip I have is to create a schedule. So this tip is really going to be helpful for those of you who are trying to find a way to work while homeschooling, work at home while homeschooling. Maybe those of you who are thinking of doing VIP Kid or doing VA work or running an online business, kind of like what I do. This is going to kind of be a good tip for you. So once you've set aside your work hours and you know every week when you're going to be working, you need to ask yourself what you want to be doing during that time. So when I first started freelancing and I set aside my work hours, I didn't always have clients or work to do during that time. So what I would do instead is I would spend that time looking for work, or I would spend that time training myself in various tasks that I needed to be a better virtual assistant, to be a better blogger, to be a better podcaster, to be a better editor, teacher, whatever it is you're trying to obtain. Then if you don't have the work to do during those work hours when you're first starting out, then train yourself in how to be a better XYZ, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. If you already have clients or a job that you do each week, break down your work hours into the tasks that you need to accomplish each week. So what I do, what I'm doing now, I just started a new job with the Southeast Homeschool Expo. So I'm still trying to find a routine to help with my work hours with that. But when I was just doing virtual assistant work, I would set aside, I would have a paper calendar, and I would write down each week all of the things I needed to do. And then next to that, I would write down about how much time each of those tasks would take. So I would know, okay, in the morning, I'm going to have 2 hours. What on this list can I knock out in 2 hours? And those would be those tasks that I could not be interrupted. Those tasks, well, I could be interrupted, but those tasks that required a lot of focus and a lot of attention. And I would knock those out. And then I would have 15 or 30-minute tasks. And so those are the tasks I would do like in the middle of the day when I had a few extra minutes. And that really helped me break down what I needed to do when I had the time to work or when I was sitting down to do my work hours. And that is so helpful whenever you're working while homeschooling, because you're kind of trying to fit everything in those fringe hours. And having a schedule, knowing what you need to accomplish during your work time will really help you be more productive and help you have better time management skills. I also have a monthly list. So a list of all the tasks I need to do every month. And that's what I use to make up my weekly calendar. And then I also have a quarterly goal list. And with that quarterly goal list helps me figure out what I want to take and what I need to plug in to each month. Those are printables that I create, but my actual weekly tasks, I actually physically write down in a notebook every week. So, whenever you're working at homeschooling, you need to have their schedule. You need to have that set aside work hours, because you just don't have the time to mindlessly browse the web or not be productive. Like, let's face it, you don't. You have a lot on your plate. And so having those work hours and having a schedule really, really will help you be a more productive working homeschool mom. So the next tip on my list is to say no. Okay, this is something that I really used to struggle with, but once I learned to say no, it is so much fun. Like, it really is. It's just nice to be able to say no and not feel guilty about it. So, can you head up this field trip? No. Can you do the Valentine party? No. Do you want to teach at co-op? No. Will you babysit my child? No. Hey, can we come over today and hang out? No. If any of these questions that people are asking you is going to cause you to miss work or to not be able to homeschool your kids, then the answer to those needs to be no. Now, I don't like disappointing people, and I don't like missing out on things that are fun. But working while homeschooling means that sometimes you are going to have to say no to things you want to say yes to. Because you're running a business, you have a job. If you work from home, yes, it's more flexible, but that does not mean you need to say yes all the time. Saying no to outside distractions means you are saying yes to yourself, your job, and your business. And it means you are saying no to being overwhelmed. Saying no also comes into play when dealing with some clients and when considering taking on more work. I really have had difficult clients through the years, clients that I did not enjoy working for. And if they add more stress to my plate than value, I cut them off. I just quit working for them. And that's okay. Like, not every client and me are going to mesh well. And that is totally okay. There have been seasons where I've had to take on extra work, like to pay for braces or a speeding ticket or other things. But if there's not a reason to take on more work and it's just going to give me a headache and add more stress, then the extra money it's not worth it, period. It's just absolutely not worth it. If you're in a season of babies, have a child that needs more of you right now than usual, say no to clients who constantly email you outside of your work hours. Say no to jobs that may interfere with your work schedule or family life. If you don't, believe me when I say you are going to lead yourself into a season of burnout. And that is a place where nobody wants to be. You're going to lead yourself into a season of being an angry mama, which I talked about a couple episodes ago. That is a season that you do not want to be in because you are a mom first. And you do not want your child's memories to be of you being grumpy because you are always overwhelmed. By saying no, you are saying yes to a more pleasant and joyful mommy and household. By learning to say no, I also learned to truly give my best yes. Every decision that I make is weighed. By saying no to things, I'm able to say yes to that extra book, my husband, and homeschooling to the best of my ability. By learning to give my best yes, I stopped homeschooling out of negligence and was able to recuperate from a year of burnout. This is actually where this no decision-making process came from. And working and homeschooling means that as moms, we have to learn to earnestly seek God's will in every avenue of our lives. It allows us to manage our time more efficiently, and we learn how to say no to the things that take away from our best yes, which is a book from Lisa Turkhurst, which I highly recommend. I also highly recommend, what is the name of that book? I just listened to it. It's about working moms. I just listened to it. The author's name's Jessica. I'm going to leave a link to that in the show notes because I cannot think of it off the top of my head. It's not Fringe Hours, but it was something else. But I will say too that there are going to be seasons where you're going to be able to say yes to more. So when I had younger kids, we didn't run a homeschool co-op. I had a homeschool group that met together every so often and did field trips, but we didn't have a co-op. I was not running or managing a co-op when I had a lot of younger kids because I could not take that on. It was not possible. I'm able to say yes to more now that my kids are older and independent, and that is okay. It's a different season. Whenever Daniel was first diagnosed with his special needs and we were having therapies 3 days a week, I said no to everything else outside of work and school. I could not do it. I couldn't handle it. I needed to focus on him. And that season passed. We're now down to therapy 1 day a week. And again, I'm able to say yes to more. And don't feel guilty if you're in a season where you constantly have to say no, because you need to remember what you are saying yes to. The next tip I have is to assign your kids chores. So there is no reason why you have to do everything. My friend Devon is great at the assigning kids chores thing, and she's encouraged me to put more on the plate of my kids and to not feel guilty about it. Life skills matter, and teaching our kids to do the dishes, their own laundry, cook dinner, and other household chores is helping them to become better adults one day, to have responsibility, and to one day run their own household. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you have kids who are over the age of 10, there is no reason you need to be doing their laundry. Period. Sorry. If you have kids over the age of 10 or 11, maybe younger, it just depends, but there's really no reason why you need to be doing dishes. Put some of the responsibility on your kids. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Now, if you're going to email me about child labor, I will email you back and let you know our chore system and our allowance system and all of that. So please don't. Every family needs to make this decision for themselves, but I'm just saying that putting some responsibility on the shoulders of our kids is not going to kill them. It's going to make them better adults one day. So the next is to limit activities. Find a limit that works for your family. Our rule is 1 activity per kid. This includes sports, music, art, and homeschool group activities. So for us, we let ourselves have 1 homeschool group activity a week. That's our homeschool activity. We don't count church into the activities because we go to church, but we do count sports or art classes. So if my daughter is taking an art class and she also, in 4-H season comes up, she has to drop art or 4-H. Which one does she want to do in that season? If my daughter's running cross country, she cannot be doing Bible study out at camp. She's got to pick one or the other. It's cross country season. That's her one thing. You get the idea. Like my son did Taekwondo. He stopped Taekwondo during soccer season because he wanted to do soccer. We do not need to be running ourselves ragged because we already have enough on our plate with working and homeschooling. So the last thing I want to say is to give yourself grace. I feel that as moms, we preach grace to everyone else, but we very, very seldom give ourselves that same grace that we give others. As a working homeschool mom, you might not fit into that typical homeschool mom mold. Our life looks different than some of the other families in our group, and that's okay. I don't need to feel guilty for that. I balance more plates than some, and there are many moms out there who are balancing more plates than me. We all have struggles, trials, and reasons that we miss field trips, or we miss homeschool group, or we miss XYZ, and none of them justify homeschool mom guilt. I do not regret being a working homeschool mom. I love it. My kids see me work every day, and they know how hard I work to balance my time effectively. They have seen me persevere and reach goals. They have cheered with me when I sold my first eBook and have listened to me read articles and blog posts. They helped me hang business signs and read books to the babies when I ran my in-home daycare. They've came along with me to speaking events, work trips, and more. My businesses have been family businesses, and I could not have done any of it without them. So there is no reason why I should feel guilt for being a working homeschool mom. You can take out all of those things that I just said and replace them with your accomplishments. Replace them with why you work. Replace them with the benefits that you have given your family by being a working homeschool mom, and take away that guilt that you may be feeling. And if there are people in your life who are making you feel bad because you work, please remove them from your lives. Like, don't allow them to steal your joy. Please, 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 please don't. You don't deserve it. So, and they're really crappy people if they make you feel that way. So, If you're a working homeschool mom, I hope this episode encouraged you and provided you with more tips to help you have a more joyful homeschool. If you're considering homeschooling but not sure if you can manage working and homeschooling, again, I have additional resources on my site, jointhejoursneystore.net. Feel free to send me an email. I have lots of resources. I'll leave the links to those in the show notes. I have resources including 100 resources for the working homeschool mom that has tons of information in it. It has curriculums that I recommend if you're working and homeschooling. It has resources on how to get a job, how to keep a job, how to manage your time, all of that. I have a friend, Linda, who posted on my blog about VIP Kid and her working with them. If that's something you're interested in, I'll leave a link to that in the show notes. There will also be a link in the show notes to the Homeschool Moms Retreat I mentioned at the beginning and the Bible study I mentioned. So check out all of those in the show notes at joyfullyhomeschooling.com or on your podcast app. So until next time, guys, thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. I hope it helped you have a more joyful homeschool. Bye.
This has been an episode of the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast. I thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please take the time to leave a rating or review on iTunes or whatever platform it is that you use to listen to this podcast. That tells the powers to be I'm not talking to myself. Also, hit subscribe. Then you will catch every episode of the Joyfully Homeschooling Podcast each week right there in your podcast feed. You can find show notes and more at joyfullyhomeschooling.com and clicking on the episode number of the episode you are looking for. Thanks, guys. I hope this podcast encouraged you to head out there and have a more joyful homeschool.